So we just got some huge news for Monster Hunter Wilds, as not only did we get some brand new gameplay that showcases the new hunters, the new characters, the new monsters, details about the weapons, and so much more. I'm so very excited to be sharing this all with you guys. There is lots of info for Monster Hunter Wilds from the Sony PlayStation Showcase, so I'm going to be going over every single little detail that I can find, because again there's a lot of juicy news, so without any further ado, let's get right into it. So let's first take a look at the trailer slowly before I actually analyze it. And that's the handler and the smithy. And of course we get some background as well for these characters. Much bigger story focus. Look at the size of these maps, dude. And the music too. And there comes the big boy. Oh, look at him.
We'll make for the desert.
Right.
Environmental traps return, that's cool. Dude, this looks so sick. And we got some greatsword gaming. Look at that big boy. They're all ganging up on him. Oh, that is so cool. Oh my god, I'm so excited for this game, guys. That is so sick. What a game, dude. What a game. I tried to keep quiet throughout all of that, but I'm so excited for all of this. And hey, we get to keep our Palico armor, that's cool. Okay, so let's now actually analyze the trailer, because there are a lot of juicy details here to point out, and I really tried to keep quiet throughout all of that because I'm so excited for this, dude. 2025 is gonna be an awesome year just for this alone. So the very first thing that I want to point out is, of course, all of these characters, the fact that we are in the sand dune. It's giving me a lot of Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate vibes, and that's a great thing because that game is fantastic. So these two characters here have actually been confirmed to be the smithy, and this one is going to be the receptionist or the handler. So if we come over here into the actual official website, under the characters tab, it mentions new allies and a rich cast of characters which will support you on your journey as a hunter. So let's go over some of this information before we continue. Our story takes place in the Forbidden Lands, an unexplored region where the guild has sent their hunter and their allies to investigate. Get a glimpse of some of the characters that you will meet as you step into this mysterious new land. And we of course get to see the render of the hunter, and I honestly really like the look of this new set. In a way, it's a big departure from the traditional armor sets that we tend to have in Monster Hunter. This one feels much more modern, and if you are a 14 player, this looks like the Viper armor set that we're going to be getting in Dawn Trail, which is neither here nor there, but we also get to take a look at the initial greatsword, which I think looks very cool, although it is a bit too slim compared to what I'm used to. And here we get to see a render of the female character, again with the same armor set, and she's actually carrying a heavy bowgun, and I'll talk more about the weapons because we saw some interesting things in the trailer, and I think that this set also looks very good. And again, as usual, the female characters end up showing more skin. And as for our hunter, that is going to be the protagonist and the character you play as. A hunter assigned to the Forbidden Lands Research Commission. Their job is to help investigate this unexplored region. Now, an interesting detail that I'll go over in a moment is that your hunter actually speaks in this game. So it looks like, for the very first time, our hunter is no longer going to be a silent protagonist. And we of course get some info on our Palico, a feline, a cat-like creature fully capable of speaking with people, who is the hunter's trusted Palico partner. Now, I don't think that they actually get to speak human language, I think it's just that they communicate with us. At least they didn't speak English in the trailer. They'll provide invaluable hunting and moral support. And we get to see this cute Palico armor and weapon. Look at that hammer. I mean, that's just adorable, but more likely than not I will actually replace the armor set with the one from World that I like a lot. And as you can see here, we have Alma. She is going to be the handler, the one who manages Monster Hunter requests, permissions, and quests. She will accompany you out on quests and provide valuable support and knowledge. And yeah, here we get to see the full render of Alma. Again, we get to see this very modern design for the character that I am totally not used to with Monster Hunter. And up next, we of course have Gemma. I believe that is how it's going to be spelled, who's going to be the smithy with the research commission. She will take care of all of your weapon and armor crafting needs. And here we get to see a full render of Gemma, which actually looks pretty close to Manale from Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. And up next, we have that young boy Nata, who's a mysterious young boy that accompanies you on your journey. I'm not quite sure what is going to be our relationship with him. Maybe we're like a distant relative, an older brother, something like that. At least that's the vibes that I got from the trailer. Not much is said about this guy. Now here at the start we get to see a few more characters, but given that none of them are identified in that character's page, I guess that they're just going to be those filler hunters that you get to interact with a couple of times, but maybe they're not even voiced, for example. Now this is the first new monster that we get to see in the trailer, and we actually have a couple of news about him. This guy that we get to see right here looks absolutely awesome, and his name is going to be Shatacabra. Dude, just look at that design, that is so gnarly, I like him so much already. It's a large species of amphibians that use the adhesive quality of their saliva to affix stone to their forelimbs in order to power up their attacks. And I'm guessing that they're going to somewhat play out like Garangolm, but maybe with the addition of the tongue, and by everything that we saw, they look to be a very cool monster. And of course we also get to learn some information about this guy right here, Doshaguma, which is going to be a rugged territorial fanged beast that exhibits an aggressive disposition and inhabits a large range. And it will sometimes be observed in large packs like we saw in the trailer. And we're going to see a lot more of this guy. Now we had already seen pretty much of this footage before, not with this much detail and with the other characters, but we knew about these guys already. But some of these interactions actually look pretty cool, and I don't think we had ever seen these guys right here, these smaller guys, and these ones, but that is the big brute wyvern I was talking about earlier. And here we're going to get a seamless transition into combat, but first the hunter uses the slinger, and ends up hitting the one in the back. And this is the transition I was mentioning. We get here this cutscene with one of them jumping on us, and just like that we're going to be transitioning into combat. I mean, just look at that. That's fantastic. And here we get to see the greatsword in action, by which I mean that the hunter actually misses. Now that attack right there where he throws the monster at us, we had already seen in a previous trailer, but we're going to see some new interactions in a bit. Dude, this guy looks crazy, but he's a bit smaller than I first expected actually. So he has a big charged attack, kinda like Tigrex. Now that part right there, I really want you to pay attention, because like our hunter gets knocked back into the ground, like when you do in Monster Hunter from a big attack, right? It takes you a bit to get up. This is one of those moments where you are able to stay on the ground to avoid an incoming attack, because you have iframes when you are on the ground. But here the hunter actually calls out the mount, which I'll go over the details in a moment as well, and they straight up pick you up and you are able to ride the mount instantly, which is pretty insane for you to be able to avoid big attacks from the monsters. I wonder how that is going to work. Maybe it has a cooldown, kind of like the mantles in Monster Hunter World, or maybe it's just something that you can just call as much as you want, which kinda seems a little busted. Now here we get to see all of those monsters jumping the big guy. Again, he calls out the mount and gets back up on it. And this is a very interesting detail that we talked about, that was discussed by a lot of the community when the first Wilds trailer released. Right here, he puts the greatsword into that stash, and from that same stash he takes out a heavy bowgun. And you can still see kind of the greatsword was still dangling from there in the stash. So these are two separate weapons, there's still a greatsword and a heavy bowgun that he quite simply is able to swap between in the middle of the hunt, just like that. I mean, look at it. It is so seamlessly. Like that, now he has a heavy bowgun, and he just starts shooting at the guy. That is insane. And we of course get to see the jumping attack, and look at that animation. Dude, that is so cool, so satisfying. Now right here, I want to go over that one more time. That attack looks pretty cool, but let's see. He's gonna do a big slash that has a lot of KO. That one right there, amazing upward slash. The monster gets staggered, it's about to get KO'd, very cool. But now look at this. He does a shoulder tackle that uses the slinger to propel himself forward while also unleashing this powerful slash, so let's take a look at that one more time. Let's pay attention here. And that might actually be a counter, the attack that comes out before, which is very cool. And now look at this. He straight up has like an explosive shell on the heavy bowgun. He kind of merges or morphs the heavy bowgun and then has that powerful shelling blast, but that attack where he cleaves through the monster is so satisfying. I mean, can you imagine cutting off a big monster tail like that? That is so cool. And then we get to see this cutscene. We don't really have any details about this character, but let's be honest, I think we can all agree that this is likely going to be the equivalent of the Admiral. And again, that is the part where I mentioned that our hunter is going to actually speak right there, because that is the same model of the character that is showcased on the website as your own hunter. So hey, our hunters are going to speak for the first time. And here we see the hunter calling an SOS flare, and the hunters ride into co-op. And look at that! Oh, we actually get to see a hammer there. I didn't notice that before. Hold on. Let's look at this slowly. So this right here, he blocks the incoming attack with a greatsword block, which you can already do in all the games. But then you have this very cool thing where he is essentially able to reinforce the block kinda like you can with the lance in the games. And then the monster lunges at him and he's kind of almost inside the monster's mouth. Like, this screenshot is absolutely nuts. This is crazy. This is actually gameplay. You're going to be playing this. It's not a cutscene. It may be a QuickTime event though, and if it's a QuickTime event, I'll be somewhat disappointed depending on how the implementation is, but that was pretty crazy. And here, on the left, you're going to be able to see the hammer. You can kinda see the face of the hammer right there. The pose is totally that of the hammer, there's no question about it, right? I think we all agree that's the hammer. He's gonna go for a swing, that is absolutely the hammer. The armor kinda looks like the Ludroth armor, but of course it's going to be a new monster because so far we've all seen new monsters, we haven't seen a returning one yet, other than Rathalos that is. But again, those are so many small bits of information that we saw from the trailer, and I cannot wait for 2025 to see all of this. And then of course if you played World and Iceborne, you're going to be able to get these armor sets for your Palico, which is a nice little bonus and a nice callback. Now returning to the website because there are a few more important things in here, starting with a living world. A world with an ever-changing climate. Life here has learned to adapt to the harsh environments, the wildlife developing its own ecosystem, and the humans developing their own culture within it. And of course the electricity that we get to see, the sandstorms, all of that is regarding the harsh environment. And here we get to see a couple of screenshots for this area, which looks very cool, and we get to see how much it changes with the environment. And we get some important bits of information here. Each hunting locale features an environment with two dynamically changing identities. One in which the region is harsh and unforgiving where ravenous monsters fight for the limited resources, and another in which the region is vibrant and brimming with life. So that's kinda cool that pretty much every single map in the game is going to have a system like this, where everything is chill, it's all fun and rainbows, and then over time, the map goes crazy, everything goes to shit, you have to fight the more powerful monsters, you get invaded. Oh, that is going to be so cool. Changes in the environment also means change for the monsters and wildlife that live there, so you will be running into new surprises around every corner. And that just sounds exciting. And here we get introduced to the monster herds that we saw so many times in the trailers. In the Forbidden Lands you will encounter not only herds of small monsters, some of the large monsters of the region may also form packs like we saw here, and each group has its own place in the ecosystem with its own unique movements and behavior. Again, I really like that Monster Hunter is focusing on the ecology, that is something that I always appreciated, and it seems to take an even bigger focus in Monster Hunter Wilds. And then of course we get to the new mount, an essential companion for traversing the vast wilds, and that is going to be called the Sycret? I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to spell this. And here we get to see the full render of it, it looks pretty cool, and I like that this guy is also capable of spreading its own wings. I wonder if we're going to be able to customize them and essentially have them fight monsters alongside us. I think that would be really cool, but because we have our Palicos, more likely than not, they're just going to be aiding us on the quest by giving us the mount and for traversal, that kind of thing. Oh, it's actually here, okay, my bad. I'm getting ahead of myself. The Secret is an animal mount whose exceptional agility will provide the hunter with crucial support while out on hunts. Its well-developed sense of smell allows it to guide you automatically to your current objective or any location you select on the map. So it's going to have the best part of the world mount along with the mount that we get in Monster Hunter Rise with the Palamute, where in Iceborne you would be able to pinpoint any location on the map and your mount would just take you there, but you were not able to control it. And then of course in Rise you are able to pilot the Palamute and you can take it anywhere. Here it looks like you're going to be able to do both, so if for whatever reason you don't want to take command of this guy, you can actually just select a place for him to go and he will take you there by himself, so that is pretty cool. You can also use your slinger and certain kinds of items while mounted, allowing you to comfortably restore your health, sharpen your weapon, or even gather materials while on the move. So again, things that we were already capable of doing. Your secret isn't just for travel though, you can also stash an extra weapon in its weapon sling, allowing you to switch between two weapons of your choice while on hunts. So that just straight up answers our question. You are able to take two different weapons with you and swap between them, and honestly that is pretty cool. Now I wonder if if storing a weapon restores its sharpness, for example, because say that you go with the dual blades and the greatsword, for example, and you lose out on the sharpness for the dual blades and then you want to swap for the greatsword, and eventually the greatsword also runs out of sharpness. Can you then just store the greatsword, take out the dual blades, and will their sharpness be replenished? I think that is an important question that we'll have our answers to as we get closer to the release date. And then of course we have the ecosystems, with the Windward Plains being the map that we're going to be playing on. That seems to be the first map that we're going to have access to. And just take a look at all of these different locales, they look massive. Such a big variety of different places that we're going to be able to explore, that is very promising. As a member of the research commission charged with investigating the Forbidden Lands, the Windward Plains is the first new hunting locale you'll visit. Okay, that's the answer right there. The plains are a diverse region filled with sandy deserts, swaying grasslands, twisting rock formations, and other natural wonders. Man, all of this looks great, and then again we get to see these two new monsters that we got to take a look at already. Now here's the part that I know so many of you are excited to talk about, the hunting. Hunting action is bigger than ever. New moves, a huge variety of weapons and equipment, and more ways to use monsters and environment to your advantage. All of which sounds very exciting. Ultimate hunting action. The 14 iconic weapon types from the Monster Hunter series will each make their return. So all of the 14 classic weapons that we already know of, new action features and new moves for each weapon type will help you make the most out of any situation during your hunts. And again, they showcase that exact move that I talked about earlier, where he shoots out the sling and gets closer to the monster, or the big cleave move that he does on the side of the enemy. And that attack, that upward swing, it really looks like a counter. That is so cool. Am I going to be a greatsword main in this game? It's kinda disappointing that we're not getting a new weapon, but then again, this is not a confirmation that we're not getting one. So personally, I'm going to be hopeful that we might be able to get a brand new weapon, although I would say that don't get your hopes up too much. Now there is this very interesting new feature called Focus Mode, so let's go over that. Focus Mode allows you to aim your attacks and guard abilities. You can also use Focus Mode to pinpoint monster weaknesses, which can be targeted with special new attacks that will deal big damage. By making it easier to space yourself and aim your attacks during hunts, Focus Mode will make it even easier for players of all stripes to get in on the hunting action. So again, they're just providing more utility for the players, and it seems that it is with Focus Mode that we're going to be able to use all of these different techniques. Maybe we're going to be getting a gauge to do these actions. Now right here it kind of looks like the hunter is glowing for a little bit while performing that dash. So maybe you get super armor while you're doing it, but maybe I am speculating a bit too much on this one thing right here. But again, it really looks like it does gain some bonus whenever he does that parry, and then goes into this gap closer right here. Now here they talk about the Slinger. The Slinger returns as an indispensable hunter tool. Use it to fire rocks, seeds, and other natural ammo, or even use it to trigger objects in the environment. The Hook Slinger is the newest evolution of the Slinger, allowing you to gather all types of materials from a distance, and can even be used to interact with certain environmental objects or trigger traps. So far they don't really tell us much about the Slinger. Everything that we saw in the trailer looked to be exactly the type of thing that we already did in World, but I am excited to see how this is going to work in different combat scenarios. But these are all of the new details that we currently have access to for Monster Hunter Wilds, and of course as we get new details I'll be sure to keep you guys updated. This is by far my most anticipated title for 2025. As someone that has been playing Monster Hunter since I was 8 years old, it's honestly crazy to see the scale of these new games, so I am beyond excited to be covering this game, and hopefully I'll be able to get my hands on a demo soon. And I just want all of you to know that I'm going to go all in when this game releases. I mean, I will be making 2-3 videos per day, expect that at least. I've honestly never been this excited for making content, so I want to say a big thank you to everyone from the Monster Hunter community that has watched me over the years, and for any new viewers out there, I hope you are as excited as I am for this game because this is going to be insane. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, happy hunting!